applying. Great. So let's jump directly into secret number one, how to build the first version of your app. Most people think that you need to be a fancy software engineer to build your own app. But actually, you can create apps by first splitting your idea into two phases and then using logic-based software to create your app. And you're probably like, what the heck are you talking about, Tara? What is logic-based software? And what are you talking about, these two phases that you need to split your app up into? What is that? What are you talking about? So let me show you what I mean. So the first thing you want to do is split your app idea into two phases. Phase one, I like to call the app hack. And I'll go into detail about what exactly an app hack is. Then phase two is where you're going to actually build version 2 of your app. This is probably what you're envisioning your app to look like when it's done. That's going to be actually version 2. Version 1, phase 1, is going to be creating an app hack. So an app hack is a simplified version of your app. It is a simplified version of your app. And I want to show you, just to illustrate this concept, I want to show you the first versions of Google, Facebook, YouTube, maybe some companies that you've heard of before. And I want to show you what they can teach us about starting small. They teach us something really important about starting small. So this is what the first version of Facebook looked like. It pretty much let you log in, create a password, upload a photo, find friends, and like poke people. That's pretty much it, right? And actually, if you recall, it was restricted originally just to Harvard University, just to like one school. This is not what you should build as the first version of your app. So many people are like, oh, I want to build something that looks like the first version of Facebook in terms of scale. Nope, this is not what you should build as the first version. This is also what the first version of Twitter looked like. I don't know if you guys know this, but when Twitter started, it was just an SMS text service, right? It wasn't this online platform. You texted what you were up to, and it sent a text to your friends and let them know what your tweet was by text, right? This is also not what you should be building as the first version of your app. So when you think about your app ideas journey, you can think about it as a 5-step journey. Step 1 is that you're going to come up with the idea. How many folks in here have already come up with their startup idea? You already know kind of what you want to build in general. Type in the chat if you're like, yeah, I'm at step 1. I finished step 1, etc. Type that into the chat. Let me know so I can know where you guys are in the process, right? Who has completed step 1? Step 2 is to create your app hack, which, if you remember, is a simplified version of your app. That's step 2. Step 3 is to create an MVP. This is the first formal version of your app. MVP stands for minimum viable product. That is a term that you'll hear in technology very frequently. That is step 3. Step 4 is to iterate on that MVP. So you won't get it perfect the first time or the second time. And so you're going to have to keep getting feedback from customers and keep tweaking it and updating it until you get it right. Till you get to step 5. And that is when you hit something called product market fit. It's where you've got the right exact product for the market that you're going after, right? Does that make sense in terms of a journey? Yeah? So what most people try to do is they try to jump from step 1 all the way over to step 3, right? They try to jump from coming up with the idea to building the first polished version of their app. And what happens is, because they try to make such a big leap, they end up falling directly through the cracks. They don't even make it to the step 3. They fall through the cracks. This is why most startups fail. I'm so serious. This is why most startups fail. They try to jump from step 1 to step 3, and they fall through the cracks. They never make it. So when I talk to a lot of people, I tell them, don't compare your beginning to someone else's middle. It's important, I'm going to go back, that you do the steps in sequential order and that you don't skip that step 2. It is a risky move for you to make. And oftentimes when you see the, Facebook now, you see, even new startups that are coming up. That's not actually their beginning. You just didn't see their beginning because they were smaller and quieter then, right? You're actually seeing most companies' middle. And so don't compare your beginning to someone else's middle. Make sure that you give yourself the time and space to take the steps. Cool? So, if you recall, I sort of said there's two parts to building the first version of your app. The first thing you need to do is split your app into two phases, and we just talked about that. First, the app hack, and then you can do the more polished version second. Now, the second piece of this is to use logic-based software in order to create your app. Below on the screen, I have some examples and logos of companies and software tools that you can use to do this, but I'm going to walk through them and break them down for you. So, anybody here thinking about building a social network app or an app that has a lot of social features? Anybody here, type in the chat like social network or social features if it's going to be really important for people to be able to share things with each other or have conversations with each other inside of your app. Anything where people need to communicate with each other inside of your app, and that's kind of the core feature happening in your platform. Go ahead and type in the chat social network if that is you, if you are building something that has a lot of social features. Cool, okay. Cool, I'm seeing John's got some social features going on. Awesome, awesome. Crystal also as well. Social features, mainly a social app. Got it. Okay, cool. Awesome. Danielle as well. Social network. Awesome. Okay, great. So if you're not building social network, sit tight. I'm going to go through some other examples. But if you've got social elements in your app, I just want to show you some examples of the tools that we teach you how to use, particularly in the bootcamp program. But I'll show you some tools that you can use in general. So the first tool I want you to take a look at is called Mighty Bell. Mighty Bell is a software, and what you're seeing right now, by the way, are examples of apps that were built using Mighty Bell, social apps that were built using Mighty Bell without knowing how to write any code. These are apps that were built without any code at all. And so Mighty Bell allows you to create a platform where people can post things, other people can like their posts, you can have friends and follow friends, there's user profiles, there's different forms. If you have an event series, people can post different events that are going on, all sorts of things like that. They can search through the database and find different different posts. They can poll each other and ask different questions. So you get all of these features and you get them inside an actual app that is in the App Store. Also, it'll be available on desktop too, but in the App Store using Mighty Bell. Another example, and this is maybe one you have not thought of in terms of how to test your app idea, but you can test a lot of the social features that you want to build by just creating a Facebook group. A Facebook group allows you to test all the important interactions of how people interact with each other, like each other's posts, comment on each other's posts, post different pieces of content, right? Really, at the end of the day, those are the things that you're trying to make sure users are doing. And so you can absolutely test your social app idea by creating a Facebook group to make sure that all the features are in place. And yes, you can charge for access to a Facebook group. So really, the reason that some of these tools make sense for building a social platform and for testing out and building the app hack for your social platform is because your app hack has 3 goals. 3 goals only. First, you've got to figure out, does anyone want this? Second, you've got to figure out what features are most important. And third, you've got to figure out, can I make money? Your only job right now as CEO or as founder or co-founder, your only job is to figure out the answer to these 3 questions. Does anyone want this? What features are most important? And can I make money? If there is a question on the table that you're spending time on that does not fit into one of these 3 categories, you need to put it on the back burner for now. This is your only job, right? That is the job of the app hack. And so that's the reason why it's okay to use a platform like Facebook groups to test your social app. But if you also want to get a little bit more fancy, there are other tools and platforms like Mighty Bell and Mighty Network that I showed you. Okay, next type of app. And I may not get a chance to cover all the types of apps that are out there today, but I want to show you some of the main ones or a lot of the ones, and we can talk about it and I can give you some resources. So anyone building a recommendation engine, something that matches people together, think Match.com dating app, Tinder like dating app, anything where you're connecting people to things, you're recommending things to people. Anyone have, type in the chat like recommendation engine, if that is an important part of your app. Okay, I see Daryl's got recommendation in here. Yeah, exactly. Cool. Awesome. Awesome. Okay, I'm seeing lots of recommendation engines. Great. Okay, perfect. So, if you are building a recommendation engine option, okay, more recommendation engines, great. Okay, a lot of you guys are building some things in this space. So I want to show you some tools so you can use. The best tool to use if you are building a recommendation engine, the first version of your app, is to actually use a survey. So, we're talking about logic-based tools. Most surveys, most, sophisticated survey builders have built-in logic. And what that built-in logic does is it allows you to show and hide different things to different people based on their previous answer or based on information you have saved about them. So for example, a really simple example of this is you can have a multiple choice question that said, what city do you live in? And once if you can give multiple choice, you live in San Francisco, live in Seattle, live in Chicago, live in New York. And if they pick Chicago, then you give a specific question related to Chicago, right? And you put in some logic in order to make it know that because they pick Chicago, then they do something else, right? So you can really take that simple component and create a recommendation engine. Because they like certain things, you can recommend certain other things, right? Now, what I'm showing you right now on the screen is the first version of an app that I built for my first company called Collecto. And Collecto was an art recommendation engine. So what we did was we learned about people's taste in art, and then we showed them affordable art. We hunted the internet and showed them affordable art based on their taste. And so what you're seeing here is the recommendation engine working. And I built this using Typeform and Survey Gizmo. Those are just regular survey tools out there. And so you can see that people can see pieces of artwork that they like, and then they can rate the pieces. But not all people see all pieces of art. So when they first come to the page, it knows who you are. It says art recommendations for Tara. And then because I like abstract art, because I like photography, it's only going to show me those things in my price point. Then I'm able to save that information later on. So it's showing me personalized recommendations. When I launched this, although I had just built it using a survey, no code, I built it really in a few weeks. People would email me back and say, oh my gosh, I love your app, Tara, it looks really good. And little did they know, I built it making an app hack, and I built it using a survey, right? I used a survey in an unintended way. Now, what I was doing was I was figuring out in the most simple way possible, does anyone want this? What features are important, and can I make money? That was my focus, and that was my only focus. And I was able to accomplish that with a pretty simple version of that app that I just showed you. I also want to tell you that that first version of that app I showed you generated me my first $35,000 in revenue. I made $35,000 in revenue from that survey app I showed you. And my company got invited to 500 Startups Accelerator program. It's a prestigious accelerator in Silicon Valley, and we got our first $100,000 investment through that program. So $35,000 in sales, $100,000 investment from that first app hack that I launched. You can do this too. A lot of the students in our bootcamp program come out with really, really identical results. That $35,000 in sale price point, or I'm sorry, $35,000 in sale benchmark is something you can totally hit. So let's do a few more examples. Anyone here building an app that is going to need heavy use of data, or an app that you're going to sell to other companies or license to other companies? Big companies are going to be your customer, or you're going to need a lot of data in your app. You're going to need to calculate things. Any financial apps would go into this category. Anytime where you need to really calculate things inside of your app. or if you need a really robust database of things, maybe a huge listing of opportunities or a listing of things. Anybody need a lot of data or database functionality in their app? Go ahead and type like data or database in the chat if that's you. Okay, great. All right, I am seeing some more people. Data and database. Okay, enterprise app. Yep, selling to B2B. Got it. Data and enterprise. Data. Okay, good. So there are some people who are building this. So let me show you some resources for you guys. The first tool that you should look at is called AppSheet. AppSheet is a tool that takes your spreadsheets of data and turns them into an app. Anyone good at Excel? Any folks that are good at Excel in here? If not, it's not a requirement. But it takes your Excel spreadsheet of data and puts it into app format. That's what AppSheet does. Also, I heavily recommend a tool called Power Apps. This is built by Microsoft. You can see some examples on the screen of different apps and interfaces that were built on Power Apps. And it really nicely integrates with Dropbox and Salesforce and Slack and Word and Excel, all these other tools that you might use. It completely integrates with it, and you can build really robust enterprise level apps without writing any code. Also database apps, all of these things without writing any code. Cool? So I wanted to show you that for folks who are building data or enterprise apps. And then there are just more options. So maybe I didn't mention the type of app that you're specifically building. I want to show you some of the other tools that I often recommend to folks when they're building an app. And there are a lot of tools out there. Part of my job is to help you find the right one. So the first tool I want to show you is called Motion AI. Motion AI allows you to build artificial intelligence chatbots without writing any code. So you can see, it'll come up on the screen in a second, this back and forth conversation that you're having, not with a human. You can see the chat right here. It's not happening with a human. A bot is having that conversation. You completely automate this back and forth conversation if that is a critical part of your app. If artificial intelligence is something you want to build, you can do it these days without writing any code using a tool called Motion AI. Also, if you want to create a video game without writing any code, I recommend checking out a tool called Stencil. You'll get that app published on iPhone, on Android, on Windows Phone, and on desktop. And you are able to build an app without any coding knowledge. You just logically tell the app what to do. When I say apps, all of these tools are based in logic, and you should find logic-based tools. What I mean is that you logically tell the app what to do, and you logically do that in English instead of in some sort of other coding language. There's no coding language. You just logically tell the app what to do in English. This is an example of a video game that was created with that tool Stencil that I just mentioned, right? So you can create robust video games as well without knowing how to write any code. So a good friend of mine, his name is Brennan, he says, Hell is building fancy stuff that nobody uses. I am so serious when I say this, guys. Do not build fancy stuff that nobody's going to want or use. You have to first build your app hack, make sure that this is something that people want, make sure you can make money off of it, because hell is building fancy stuff nobody uses. And that is why you build your app hack. It's a simplified version of your app. It's the first thing that you should do when you're launching. And for those of you who have already launched your app and are a little bit concerned that you're not getting the signups and the traction and you don't have all the features that you want, but it's still not going the way that you want, what you need to do is go back and revisit the concept of an app hack, or at least consider some of the new features you want to build in your app and create app hack versions of those. Okay, because your job is to figure out, again, I'm going to keep saying this so you're really clear on this. 1, does anyone want this? 2, what features are most important? And 3, can I make money? That is your job. That's it. That's all you need to figure out. And really in the bootcamp program that I run, there's 2 promises here. 1, that you're going to get the first version of your app built, and 2, you'll get a really clear process for getting your first 100+ customers. And I want to show you, I'm bringing up bootcamp because I want to show you some examples of people I've worked with directly on this exact process. So Patrick, I just want to tell you a quick story about Patrick. He's got a really, really awesome scenario. Patrick is also in the chat here today. So Patrick lives in Chicago, and he came into Apps Without Code Bootcamp having experience in the manufacturing industry. So he used to work in manufacturing as an executive and then also originally on the actual assembly line floor. And what he noticed, and I didn't know this, Patrick told me, that on most assembly lines at these manufacturing companies, people are still tracking everything with pen, paper, and a clipboard. That is still what's happening in the industry. But he was like, it's crazy because everyone has a phone in their pocket. Everyone has a phone, but we're tracking things on pen, paper, and a clipboard. So what Patrick did was he created an app that allowed manufacturing companies to track their processes really efficiently so that the executives could see, oh, look, we're really inefficient in these particular areas. And actually, look, this machine looks like it's trending to break down soon, or this process is part of the assembly line where people are working. It's not really that efficient. They were able to significantly cut their costs, monitor their costs because of this app that Patrick built. Now, Patrick graduated from the boot camp. He did the 8-week boot camp. He graduated, and he immediately licensed his app to some Coca-Cola manufacturing plants. So Patrick is just getting started. I actually think he's past this number by this time. But when I put together this slide, he was at $35,000 in revenue and had landed contracts with big companies like Coca-Cola, right? So he just, you can sort of see this. He said, just wanted to share the first business video for my company. All of my apps have been developed by Bubble. He ended up using a platform called Bubble, which, as I mentioned, there's lots of different platforms. My job is to help you find the best one and then teach you how to use it. And he said, I created, he has multiple apps, by the way, that he created in 4 months. Apps Without Code helped me change my life. So I just wanted to share that really cool story from Patrick. Yeah. Hey, Patrick. Patrick is in the chat talking to you guys about his experience too, so you can ask him questions. All right, so that's secret number 1, how to build the first version of your app. First thing you got to do, split it up into 2 phases. Build your app hack first, and then get the next version of the more polished version second. And second, you really got to take a look at some of these logic-based software tools that are available out there. I'll help you some more figure out what the right tool is for you to use. But that's how you build the first version of your app without knowing how to write any code. Cool. So let's jump into secret number 2. This is a really, really important one. A lot of people get this wrong. Secret number 2, your app's business model must match your target lifestyle. This is something that for some reason in the technology industry, people do not like to talk about this. It is so, so important. Your app's business model must match your target lifestyle. What do I mean by that? So most people don't think about this. They build something that is quote unquote successful. So they have an idea in their head about what it looks like to build a successful company. And I bet for a lot of you guys, you have some ideas about what it means to build a successful company. But I see a lot of people get trapped because they heard about some company that was really successful and they wanted to copy all the things that that company did, but they didn't know all the details about that company's scenario, and they didn't think about what they actually just wanted for themselves. And so they get trapped in a model of success that is not actually the one they wanted. I'm going to break this down for you because I want to make sure you guys walk away from this workshop not making this mistake. So, question for you guys. Which business models are you considering? Let me give you some examples, and I want you to type in the chat and tell me which business model you are most interested in pursuing right now. So there are a bunch of examples. Transaction fees. So this is kind of like an Uber business model or an Airbnb business model, right? The customer pays a certain amount, and then you take a piece of that as a transaction fee. So this is eBay, this is Airbnb, this is Uber, transaction fee business models where you take a piece of the transaction. Type in transaction fee if that's something that you are thinking about for the business model for your own business. Transaction fee, type that in. Cool. Okay. I see some transaction fees. Okay, great. Another option that you might be considering is a low price point subscription. I consider low anything under uh, $59 a month, or, I'm sorry, $49 a month and below. Anyone thinking about kind of a lower price point subscription model, monthly subscription where you pay something under $50 a month? Type low subscription if you were thinking about that. Type that into the chat. Go ahead. Okay. Lots of low subscriptions. Okay. You guys like this one. Okay, cool. Got it. All right. What about high price point subscriptions? So $50 and above a month. Anyone thinking about high price point subscriptions? It's a monthly recurring fee, but it's going to be more than $50 a month. High subscription. Type that in. Anyone for high subscription? Okay. All right. I don't see a ton of high subscriptions. I'll let you guys continue typing in, though, if you're considering that. What about one-time licensing fee? Type that in, one-time licensing fee, if that is something you're thinking about. So customers pay one time and they get access to your app. This is often a business model if you're selling to other businesses. So they get access to your app. They just have to pay a one-time fee and they get lifetime access, or they get a certain number of years access to your app. Type in one-time licensing fee if that is you. Okay, and then what about if you're thinking about your app being free, but you're going to make money from ads? Free ads combo, those two usually go together, but you can type free or ads separately if they're not going to go together for you. Free and or ads. Okay, free and ads, I see that. Okay, got it. Ads, free. Okay, got it. Cool. So anybody else thinking about an other business model not on this list? There are a few that are not on this list. If you're thinking about something else, type in other and tell us what that is. I think if not for anything else, other people will be able to see what other examples and options are available to them. If you want to type in other and tell us what that other is, that would also be helpful. So, okay, now that I know what kind of business models you were thinking about, I want to also ask you a second part of this question, which is, what lifestyle are you working for? What lifestyle are you working for? So I'll give you some options, multiple choice again. First option is the big business CEO lifestyle. Let me explain to you what this lifestyle looks like, what your day-to-day looks like as the big business CEO. So, as a big business CEO, you run a really large company. Think like Uber scale business, big and growing really fast. And so because of that, your life is your company. You probably have an office and maybe you manage a team of 100 plus people, right? And it's growing every day. And because of that, your life is your business. You're in the office all the time. And you spend most of your days managing your C-suite. So maybe you are a marketer or you are a finance person or something particular by trade, but in the big business CEO role, you don't spend most of your time doing that. You have somebody else who does that, and you actually are just managing your C-suite and you're spending your time in board meetings with maybe investors or people who are on your board. That's what your day-to-day looks like, right? Maybe you get a lot of press coverage for this. I'm not going to ask you yet. I'm going to give you all three options here, and then I'll ask you which one you're most interested in. So that's the big business CEO model, okay? The second option is the small business CEO model. Now, here you run a company, you manage a team of maybe 10 to 30 employees, and you still generate a solid amount of revenue. You're still profitable, but you have a little bit more flexibility in your schedule because you have a smaller team. So maybe there are certain days of the week or certain seasons during the year that you don't work, that you take off, or maybe, when you want to go to your kids', recital, or you want to be able to do something after work, you have some flexibility to do that. You maybe get less sexy press than the big business CEO, but it is still your full-time job. You manage all of your employees, you're profitable, but it's a smaller operation that's intended to give you flexibility. That's what the small business CEO lifestyle looks like. And then the third option is the moonlighter lifestyle. Now, this is where you are working your existing 9-to-5 job, but you've got this company, this app that you've built complements that 9 to 5 job. It's something that you work on after work in the moonlight, in the evenings, right? So which of these 3 options, don't tell me where you are now. Tell me which lifestyle you want to eventually get to, that you're working towards. It's literally just personal preference, right? Type in big business CEO, small business CEO, or you can tell me 1, 2, or 3. Tell me 1, 2, or 3, which option you are most interested in. Okay, I see a 1, 2, 2. Okay, lots of 2s. 3, okay, Moonlighter. Yeah, some people want this to be their side project, and that makes a lot of sense. Okay, 2s, 3. Okay, I'm seeing a good mix of 2s, 1, 1. Okay, so seeing a good mix of 2s and 1s in here, which is normally what I see. And it looks like overwhelmingly you guys are at 2s. Most people are at 2s, which is also what I pretty frequently see in terms of what folks want for their business, right? There's no right or wrong here. You just want to think about what lifestyle you're working towards. Now, let me piece it all together for you. When I say don't get trapped, there are some business models that do not match up with certain lifestyles. You cannot accomplish one and the other. There are some that don't go together. They're like oil and water, right? Free, a business model where your app is free and you're going to make money from ads, does not match up with the small business CEO lifestyle. You cannot do these two. You can't. Here's why. If you build your app to be free upfront and you're going to make money from ads, you are going to need to go to these advertising companies or any company that's going to pay you money for an ad, and you're going to need to say, hey, I want you to give me money, and in exchange, I will put your brand in front of my big, huge audience. Well, in order to have that conversation, you need to have a big, huge audience to begin with. If you don't have a big, huge audience, you can't have that conversation yet. And so what that means is you've got to give yourself some time to build up the big, huge audience, right? AKA, you're going to be broke for the first few years because you were building up your audience size. You're doing that work for the first few years. You're going to be broke. In order to pay for all of your startup costs, though, you're going to need to be able to pay for that. And so maybe you'll take on, for example, an investor in order to help you pay for the startup costs because you're going to make it free up front. And later on, you're going to make money, right? Well, in this scenario, there's absolutely no investor who is interested in you being a small business CEO. They are not interested in you having flexibility of their lifestyle. Investors only make money when you sell your company or you go public. You're a publicly traded stock. You go public as a company. And so if you are working towards that small business CEO lifestyle and you build a company that is free and is going to make money down the road with ads, you're going to be really surprised and trapped when you have to do all of these things to get that business model to work, and all of a sudden you accidentally landed in a lifestyle you didn't want, where you're working all the time, you're in the midst of everything, you're in board meetings, you're managing a C-suite because that's what you had to do in order to make that business model work. So there's some business models and some lifestyles that don't go together. Here's another one. Transaction fees and small business CEO do not go together at all. Right? If you're going to take a couple dollars at a time for every transaction, you again have to have a ton of transactions. How long is it going to take you to get a ton of transactions? It's going to take you some time. And in the interim, you will be broke and you're going to have to do some other things to kind of bridge that gap. And usually these two this lifestyle and this business model do not go together either. So really think about this. Don't get trapped. You're going to have to make intentional decisions based on the lifestyle that you're going after and the business model. And don't change. If you have something that's not matching, don't go and change the lifestyle that you want. The lifestyle you want is the lifestyle you want. Instead, take the idea you have and pivot it a little bit so that you can put a new business model on it. Any idea you have can be applicable to all of those business models I showed you. You just need to choose a different business model and way of making money. So I just want to show you really quickly, this is Shara. She just landed her first $5,000 grant investment, and she decided to go after grants instead of a different kind of investment for her company because she wanted to go after the small business CEO lifestyle. She was not trying to take on equity for her company and different kinds of investors. So she just got to choose the type of investment that she wanted to take or not, because she was very clear on the business model she was pursuing and on the lifestyle she was pursuing. So it allows you to make smart decisions here. So that's secret number 2. Your app's business model must match your target lifestyle. All right. Secret number 3, stop listening to your friends. Instead, publicly promote your app hack, build a wait list, and use it to get feedback that's going to save you time and money. That's a lot. Okay, I just threw a lot at you. Let's break this down. So most people think it's a good idea to vet their app idea with friends. And some people think that they should keep their app idea secret until it's totally ready. Usually I find people fit into like one of these two camps. They either want to vet their idea and ask their friends like, hey girl, hey man, what do you think about this? Or they want to keep their idea completely secret. You should not do either of those. Both of those approaches are totally wrong. So quick story time, because I know a lot of you guys are wondering, hey Tara, you told us that story about how you made $35,000 from that first version of the app you built, and you also got some investment from it. How did you make $35,000 from the first version of your app? So I want to show you that. So I came up, this was several years ago that I came up with the idea for my first startup. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to create this site that allowed people to find personalized art recommendations based on their taste and their budget. And within 3 days of coming up with the idea for that app, I had built a landing page for it. Now, mind you, I had no clue how I was going to build the app, if I was going to have art advisors that were going to help me. I really didn't even know that much about art myself. I had no clue how I was going to make this thing work. But nonetheless, in 3 days, I had a landing page up and on the internet. This is what it looked like. Here's a screenshot from it. It says, become an art collector, get a personal stylist for your walls. And then I have this phone screenshot. I literally, to create this, wrote an email to myself pretending I was an art advisor. And I don't know if you can see it. It says like, I found some pieces of art that I think you'll like. Check them out. Here's the link here. And I drafted that email and I sent it to myself, and I took a screenshot and I put it inside of a phone and pretended that there was something there. Right? So I had no idea how I was going to make this company work, but this was the first thing that I did. Then I started publicly promoting my app hack from day one. You can see some screenshots here of a post that I did where I said, hey, my startup Collecto is featured on Product Hunt today. Please upvote it. And so I had posted it on this site called Product Hunt, where there were all of these new and emerging products and apps and startups that were coming up. Again, I had no idea how I was going to service people, how I was going to build the app, but I just started getting signups immediately and started publicly talking about it. By the way, I remember it being so weird to call it my startup, because it wasn't even a startup yet. It was just like this project, this like thing on a website that I didn't even know how it was going to work yet. But I was publicly promoting from day one. I also did that on a website called Beta List. I started publicly posting it. What I then did was I built a wait list to create excitement and to manage workload. So I had a wait list of people that were signing up. So when you came to the site, instead of like sign up now, there was a button that said join the wait list. And what that did was it allowed me to slowly take people off of the wait list. Instead of having a huge flood and downpour of customers that I wasn't ready for, I instead could just slowly take people off the wait list, 5 people off the wait list, 2 people off the wait list, and then the numbers got bigger, 20 people off the wait list, 100 people off the wait list. But I was able to slowly do that and manage my workload by having the button on the page be join the wait list. Also, this turned out to be a pretty genius marketing strategy because I was creating excitement. People were like, oh, this thing must be really cool. There's a wait list for it. And so it was a smart marketing strategy. It created excitement, but it also helped me manage my workload. The other thing that I did was, as I slowly took people off the wait list, I started getting a lot of feedback, and I was able to make changes to my app and to my service based on the feedback. There are really 2 critical things I remember, and I'm so glad that I built my company and my app this way, because I would have screwed these 2 things up. The first thing I remember was, in my head, I was certain that, just like, if you get to have a personal stylist, for example, you might do a video chat consultation with them and they'll tell you kind of what kinds of cool clothes to be considering. I wanted to do the same thing and help people talk to an art advisor for artwork. And so I wanted to build this video chat based platform where people could first have that consultation with their art advisor. I had the hardest time when I launched this getting people on video chat. It turns out that I was going after beginners as my audience, and they had no idea how to talk about art. The idea about talking about what they liked and didn't like in art to a professional felt really intimidating. They were like, I'm not really sure what I like. I saw something in the museum, I like that. The idea of talking to them on video chat felt really, really intimidating. I could not get anyone to do the video chat portion. And I am so glad I did not build a video chat based platform. I would have wasted so much money, so much time if I had built that. The other thing I really thought was going to be critical was I thought that people were going to want to choose which art advisor they wanted to work with based on kind of the different specialties that they had. And it turned out nobody really cared who the art advisor was. As long as they were good, they were selected by the platform, they were just okay with that. So I would have built a completely wrong kind of app had I just gone with my own assumptions. And so taking this process, publicly promoting it from day one and getting feedback and making tweaks around those feedback saved me so much time and money. That is secret number 3 then. Stop listening to your friends. Stop asking them what they think. Instead, publicly promote your app hack so that you can get people who are strangers signing up for it. Build a wait list of those strangers and use it to get feedback that's going to save you time and money. This will save everything for you. Cool? So let me ask you a question. Is this stuff helpful? Are you guys learning something here? Okay. Yes. Okay. For sure. Definitely. Okay. Good. Okay. Good. I am glad that this is useful. A couple more things. I just want to do a quick recap for you of what we've learned. Secret number 1, how to build the first version of your app. Remember, you've got to split it into 2 phases. Build the app hack first, and then get the more polished version second. And in order to do both of those steps, you're going to look for logic-based tools that you can use to build your app, right? You don't have to do it with code. There are lots of software tools out there that you can use. Secret number 2, your app's business model must match your target lifestyle. Make sure that you've got 2 options that actually match up, not just a random hodgepodge of the business model that you were hoping was going to work with the lifestyle that you were hoping you were going to get. Secret number 3, stop listening to your friends. Instead, publicly promote your app hack. Build a wait list and use it to get feedback that's going to save you time and money. And the last thing that's on our to-do list, I have 2 bonuses for you guys for anyone who is interested in Apps Without Code Bootcamp, which is really going to, in detail, over the process of 2 months, walk you through actually implementing all of the tips that I just shared with you. So anyone want to take this stuff that they just learned to the next level? Anyone interested in that? Really kind of moving this on, implementing it into your business, launching your business, stuff like that? Cool. So I want to show you quickly Apps Without Code Bootcamp. And what it is it's an opportunity for us to work together for 2 months. You're going to get personalized coaching. You're going to get video tutorials. You're going to get the community that you need to start getting app users and making solid revenue and money with your business. So Apps Without Code Bootcamp is all about helping you get off of your butt and finally launch that app idea that you were thinking about and have been thinking about. It's also about helping you really with all the step-by-step execution so that you can get this done, you can get this out there before someone else executes your idea and becomes the thought leader and the company leader in your space, right? It's about getting this all done in a quick, short, condensed time period for the most maximization of your time. So here's what you get with Apps Without Code Bootcamp. I just want to walk through what the program looks like for those of you who are interested in applying. So you get access to 30 plus online training lessons. That's the first thing that you get. And so what you're going to get is you're going to get login access to the Apps Without Code Bootcamp portal. And the bootcamp structure really has 4 parts. I just want to walk through the kind of structure of the program for you. The first thing we focus on is really getting a business model locked in place for you, making sure that that business model matches your target lifestyle, right? We'll do that work and get you really, really clear on the business model you want to pursue. Second, we're going to get you up and running with a solid marketing strategy. And yes, we're going to get you up and running with the marketing strategy before we get the app built. Remember, we're going to start publicly promoting this from day one. You're going to have a wait list of customers all the way down the road, all the way down the street, waiting for your app by the time you get it built, right? That's the smart way to do this. So we're going to get you going with a solid marketing strategy. Third, I mean, if you remember on that number 2, my background is in marketing. I've done marketing at Google, Foursquare, Microsoft, and for my own company. So you're getting all of that brain power, all of those tactics here as well. Then we're going to a step 3, get your app built. And we're going to spend a lot of time here getting your app built, your app pack built, and getting something really great that you can put in front of people. And then also, as you continue through the bootcamp, I have a handful of, I call them CEO challenges, right? And it's okay if you're not the CEO, if you're a co-founder, whatever it might be. These challenges are like all the other things that are super important that like come into play as being an entrepreneur. So for example, what are the best ways to manage the highs and lows? It's a roller coaster being an entrepreneur. How do you manage all of that? You'll get all of those tips and resources as well. Also, what does it look like to raise money? We'll talk about that. We'll talk about, how to fund your company. We'll talk about how to make sure that you're doing proper goal setting and milestone setting for your business and you're intentionally planning everything. Those are all in the CEO challenges. So it's like the other stuff that you really need to know to be a great CEO, right? That's the structure of this program, 4 parts. And again, the promise of the bootcamp is that you're going to get the first version of your app built and you're going to learn a really clear process for getting your first 100+ customers in the door, generating revenue from them. So as I mentioned, you're getting access to all the lessons. You can see some examples of these lessons here. There's orientation and all sorts of other things and lessons and modules that you get access to. You get to report milestones when you launch your website, when you launch your app, when you get your first revenue, all those things, and we celebrate with you. It's a really fun kind of structure for you as well. I break down all of the different software tools that you should be considering for your app hack and help you decide which one you want to use and which one's going to be best for you. All of this in broken down lessons and modules. We bring in guests and talk about some of the CEO challenges. When is it time to pivot and change your idea? How to raise money on Kickstarter, how to make your website look phenomenal, how to manage co-founder drama. You get all of those resources as well as part of the CEO challenges. And then there's some optional things that are really huge bonuses that I see people really love. I've got a super class on how I win 1,000 signups a month by hacking social media. People love this super class. It's an optional super class that you can opt into. And also there's one more optional super class, how I raised $300,000 for my app, where I walk through step by step how I did that. So that's what you get here. That's the 30+ online training lessons that you're getting. Huge, huge value. Seriously. The second thing that you're getting access to is the private Apps Without Code community. These 2 things alone are just 2 things I really wish I had when I was first launching my first company, right? All of the step-by-step knowledge that I need at the click of my fingers, and also access to the private community of other people who are building apps in a similar non-traditional way. So here's an example of the kind of thing that gets posted on the community. Shara is saying here, I'm about 90% to a launchable MVP. How about you guys? I'm thinking we could test out each other's apps in a work session before we actually go public to our audiences. Then troubleshoot things on that call real time, maybe on Sunday, hackathon style, right? So people are getting together, they're working together, they're helping each other. It's really, really an awesome community to be part of. So this is what the most updated version of the community looks like. Everybody's in there chatting and talking and helping each other, asking questions. Like, this will be your lifeline. Having an access to other entrepreneurs who are in a similar space to you, it is invaluable. And so that's one of the things that you'll get in the bootcamp as well. There's also a fun leaderboard. So as you do different lessons and post frequently in the club, there's a leaderboard, and people who are at the top of the leaderboard get prizes. So you can see here, some of the prizes are that leaders get their startup promoted to the entire Apps Without Code audience, which is about 40,000 people. People are getting free one-on-one coaching sessions. They're getting their apps featured on blogs, all those sorts of great things. So you get some extra boost by being at the top of the leaderboard in the community. So that's what we're talking about here. Access to 30 plus online training lessons, plus access to the private Apps Without Code community. Then on top of that, you're also going to get weekly live group coaching sessions. We are going to get on video chat. They're going to be small groups, no more than 20 people or so. And you're going to have one-on-one coaching. You'll get to know one-on-one group coaching. So within the group, I'll be able to talk to you individually, but you're going to get to know everyone else in that small group. That'll be kind of your cohort going through this. And we will have weekly live sessions. You can ask any questions you have. You can share your screen and say, hey, Tara, this is exactly where I got stuck, and we'll troubleshoot it on the spot. All of this stuff will be happening. And you can also use this time to get some work done, because I know a lot of folks have full-time jobs. It is hard to kind of carve out the time to get work done. You can also use these sessions to get work done if you would like. So you've also got these live group coaching sessions. I'll be teaching something really critical in the session as well. Finally, is the last thing I want to tell you about as part of what you get in the boot camp, and this is optional. Some people work better in one-on-one coaching. I know this is myself, right? I need that one-on-one accountability system where someone's like, hey, Tara, what did you get done this week? Oh, you said you were going to get this thing done. How can I help you get that done for next week, kind of thing. And so optional is that you can do through the boot camp 2 months of one-on-one coaching sessions. We'll work together to really, we'll do what the format of them will be that for 2 months, what you'll get access to is every week you'll have 2 one-on-one sessions. So 2 times a week. And we'll get on video chat one-on-one. You can share your screen, and I'll roll up my sleeves and help you work on or build whatever it is that you need. So that's what's happening with the one-on-one coaching sessions, and they're optional. So you're getting access to the 30 plus online training lessons. You're getting the private Apps Without Code community. You're getting the weekly live group coaching sessions. And then also, if you want, you can add that one-on-one coaching in addition to the group coaching if that's something that just meshes well with your work style. Cool? So again, just to say this one more time for you, Bootcamp Promise, you're going to get the first version of your app built, and you're going to get a clear process for getting your first 100 customers generating revenue from them. So that's what Apps Without Code Bootcamp looks like, and the pricing starts at $4,500. So again, if you're thinking about this kind of compared to your other options, compare that to the $10,000 plus that a developer would charge you to get your app built. And really, it starts at $10,000. $50,000 is where you could very easily land depending on the features that you need in your app. And when you pay that money to a developer, you have to pay more money anytime you want a change made. So let's say you get some feedback from your customers. Your customers are like, I like this, but I don't like this. You've got to dish out more money to get those changes done in that scenario if you go that route. And you don't get any marketing strategy or any business model strategy. They just hand you an app, and maybe that's what people want, maybe it's not. You're kind of on your own. And so that's what you end up spending, that kind of compare that option to this alternative, which is this is the route most people go down. They spend a large amount of money for a developer. Or the other option is you can do it the way that I did, right? Which is to spend 2 plus, I think I spent about 3 years learning this entire process, not only of how to build apps without code, but also how to hire on my team, how to manage a team, how to develop a marketing strategy that actually worked, all of that stuff, how to build a business model that was the right kind of business model aligned to what I wanted for my life. 2 plus years on that. So those are kind of your options here. You can spend several years working on this. You can spend $10,000 to $50,000 on this. Or, another option for you is to take a look at Apps Without Code Bootcamp, apply, and if you get in, it's significantly less in terms of price point. Cool? So actually, and I want to break this down because it says starts at 45. $100. I want to show you kind of what I mean by starts at. So there are two options because I mentioned there were some things in the bootcamp that are optional. So the pro package gives you weekly live group coaching. We talked about that. 2 months of live group coaching, access to the 30 plus training lessons, and access to the Apps Without Code community. It truly is a 2-month intensive program. And that is at $4,500 price point. But then also, if you really think that the 2 months of one-on-one coaching is going to help you,